The rehearsal dinner was perfect. 70 guests, white candles everywhere. My fiancé Marcus beside me, his hand on mine. His mother Patricia giving a toast. "To Marcus," she said, raising her champagne glass. "May tomorrow bring you everything you deserve." Not to Marcus and Sophie, not to the happy couple, just Marcus. I should have known then. Later that night, I went to the hotel terrace for air. The wedding was 18 hours away. I was jittery, excited, nervous in that good way that means your whole life is about to change. The terrace door opened behind me. Patricia stepped out, her heels clicking on the stone. She didn't see me at first. I was tucked in the corner near the railing. Then she pulled out her phone, made a call. "It's happening tomorrow," she said to whoever answered. "I know. I tried everything. But he's going through with it. Marrying that girl. Someone so beneath our family." My breath caught. I pressed against the wall, hidden by shadows. "She's not educated like us. Not from the right background. Not the kind of woman who belongs in our social circle. I don't know what he sees in her, but it won't last. I'll make sure of it." The terrace door opened again. Marcus stepped out. "Mom? Sophie's looking for—" Patricia spun around, saw him, then saw me, stepping out of the shadows. "How much did you hear?" Her voice was ice. I looked at Marcus, at the man I was supposed to marry in 18 hours, at the man whose mother had just called me beneath their family. "All of it," I said quietly. "I heard all of it." Marcus looked between us, his mother, his fiancée, the woman who raised him, the woman he'd proposed to. Then he made his choice. "Sophie, my mother didn't mean—" "Don't defend her. She's just protective. She doesn't understand you yet. She called me beneath your family. She said she'd make sure we don't last. Marcus, she's planning to sabotage our marriage." Patricia straightened, imperious. "Marcus, darling, I was simply expressing concern to a friend. This is being blown out of proportion." "I heard you," I repeated. "You said I'm not educated like you, not from the right background, not the kind of woman who belongs—" "And you're not," Patricia interrupted, mask dropping. "You're a nurse from Seattle. Marcus is a surgeon from one of Boston's most respected medical families. This is a mismatch, and everyone knows it. Everyone's too polite to say it. I'm just the only one honest enough." I waited for Marcus to defend me, to tell his mother she was wrong, that my background didn't matter, that he loved me for who I was. He stood there, silent, looking at the ground. "Marcus?" My voice cracked. "Sophie, you don't understand how complicated family dynamics are. I understand that you're not defending me. She's my mother, and I'm supposed to be your wife, tomorrow, in 18 hours, and you're standing here making excuses for her calling me beneath you." He looked torn, actually torn, like this was a difficult decision. That's when I knew. He'd already chosen. "Sophie, please, let's not do this now. The wedding is tomorrow. We can discuss this after—" "There's not going to be a wedding." The words came out clear, steady, even though my heart was shattering. Marcus's head snapped up. "What?" "I'm not marrying someone who won't defend me to his mother, who thinks my background is something to be ashamed of, who chooses his mother's comfort over his fiancé's dignity. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. Your mother just told you she's planning to destroy our marriage, and instead of telling her that's unacceptable, you're asking me to let it go, to discuss it later, to pretend it didn't happen." Patricia smiled, small, satisfied. She'd won. Marcus reached for me. "Sophie, I love you." "No, you love the idea of me, but not enough to stand up for me, not enough to choose me." I walked past them both, through the terrace door, down the hotel hallway, into my room where my wedding dress hung, white and pristine and completely useless. I called my maid of honor, woke her up, told her to cancel everything. The wedding was off, and I was done. If you've ever walked away from someone who wouldn't choose you when it mattered most, stay with me until the end. Your support means everything to me. Hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments. Have you ever had to cancel a wedding or end an engagement? Let's talk about it. Now, back to my story. My name is Sophie. I'm 29 years old. Or I was, that night before the wedding that never happened. Now I'm 31, and that night feels like it happened to someone else entirely. But let me back up, tell you how I got there, how a girl from Seattle ended up almost marrying into Boston medical royalty. I'm a cardiac nurse. I work ICU. It's demanding, exhausting, and the most meaningful thing I've ever done. I save lives. Literally. I hold someone's heart beating in my hands through machines and medication and sheer determination when their body wants to give up. I'm proud of that work. I come from a family that values hard work. My parents immigrated from Taiwan with nothing. My father drives a taxi. My mother cleans houses. They worked 16-hour days to put me through nursing school. When I graduated, my mother cried. "You did it," she said in Mandarin. "You made something of yourself." I had. I was making $78,000 a year, had my own apartment, paid off my student loans. I was successful by any reasonable measure, just not by Patricia Whitmore's measure. I met Marcus 3 years ago. He was a surgical resident doing a rotation in cardiology. I was the nurse assigned to his patients. We worked together on a difficult case, a 53-year-old man whose heart kept failing post-surgery. I stayed 18 hours straight monitoring that patient. Marcus was there too, refusing to leave until we stabilized him. Around 3 a.m., delirious with exhaustion, we started talking. He told me about medical school. I told him about nursing school. He told me about his family, doctors going back 3 generations. I told him about my family, immigrants who'd built everything from scratch. He said, "That's incredible. My privilege is that I never had to fight for anything. You fought for everything. That's real strength." I fell a little bit in love right then. We started dating. He was kind, thoughtful. He brought coffee on my night shifts, left sweet notes in my locker, listened when I vented about difficult cases. 6 months in, he took me to meet his family. The Whitmores live in Beacon Hill, old money, medical dynasty. Their house has a name, Whitmore Estate. They have staff, a formal dining room with seating for 20, original artwork on every wall. I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment that smelled like my mother's cooking and my father's cigarettes. The contrast was immediate and uncomfortable. Patricia Whitmore greeted me at the door, looked me up and down like I was a specimen she was examining. "So you're the nurse Marcus has been seeing. How quaint." Quaint. That word haunted me for 3 years. Dinner was excruciating. They discussed medical journals, colleagues I'd never heard of, research I couldn't follow. I tried to contribute, mentioned a patient case, a procedure I'd assisted with. Patricia smiled that tight smile. "How lovely that you're so hands-on with patient care. Marcus, of course, is focused on surgical innovation, rather different levels of medicine." Marcus said nothing. His father, Dr. Charles Whitmore, was kinder but equally dismissive. "Nursing is vital support work," he said, as if he was being generous. "Every surgeon needs good nurses." Support work, not equal work. Support. After dinner, Marcus apologized. "They're just old-fashioned. They'll warm up to you." They never did. Over 3 years, I attended countless Whitmore family events. Every one was a test I couldn't pass. My clothes were never right. My conversation never sophisticated enough. My career never impressive enough. At a charity gala, Patricia introduced me to her friends. "This is Sophie, she's a nurse. Marcus's friend." We'd been dating 2 years. I wasn't his friend. I was his girlfriend. But acknowledging that meant acknowledging I might join their family. Patricia couldn't stomach that. Still, Marcus proposed. A beautiful proposal in the Boston Public Garden. He said he loved me, said his family would come around, said what mattered was us, not them. I believed him. I shouldn't have. The engagement period was 10 months of slow torture disguised as wedding planning. Patricia took over, completely. She chose the venue, the Boston Harbor Hotel, exclusive and expensive. She chose the florist, the caterer, the photographer, all vendors she'd worked with for years, all vendors who understood that Whitmore weddings had a certain standard. Every decision was about maintaining that standard, not about celebrating Marcus and me, about the Whitmore image. I wanted my parents involved, wanted my mother to help choose my dress, wanted my father to walk me down an aisle he could afford to rent. Patricia vetoed everything. "Darling, your parents don't understand Boston society. Let me handle this. It's what I do." My parents couldn't afford to contribute much anyway. The wedding budget was $150,000, all funded by the Whitmores, which meant Patricia controlled everything. She chose my dress, said my first choice was "too immigrant bride." Those were her actual words. She picked something sleek, expensive, and completely devoid of personality. She chose the guest list. My family was limited to 20 seats. "We have so many colleagues and family friends," she explained. "We simply can't accommodate everyone." My childhood friends weren't invited. "They won't fit in with our crowd," Patricia said simply, as if that was reason enough. Marcus went along with all of it. "It's just easier to let her plan," he said. "She's good at this stuff. We just show up and get married." But it wasn't our wedding. It was the Whitmores' production. We were just the performers. The rehearsal dinner was the breaking point I didn't know was coming. Patricia had planned every detail. 70 guests, mostly Whitmore friends and colleagues. My parents sat at a side table, overdressed in their best outfits that were still too casual for the room. My mother looked uncomfortable. My father looked angry. I spent the dinner floating between tables, trying to make everyone comfortable, knowing I was failing at both. Patricia's toast was the first warning sign. "To Marcus, may tomorrow bring you everything you deserve." Not us, him, everything he deserved. As if I was something happening to him, not something he chose. After dinner, I needed air. The weight of pretending everything was fine was suffocating. I went to the terrace, stood at the railing looking over Boston Harbor. Tomorrow I'd marry Marcus, become a Whitmore, join a family that had made it clear I didn't belong. But I loved him. That had to be enough. Then Patricia came out, made that phone call, said everything she'd been thinking for 3 years, and Marcus heard. Marcus knew, and he chose her anyway. I spent the rest of that night canceling a wedding. My maid of honor, Lisa, arrived within 30 minutes, found me on the floor of my hotel room, still in my rehearsal dinner dress, surrounded by vendor contracts. "Tell me what happened." I told her. Everything. Patricia's words, Marcus's silence, the choice he made. "That bastard," Lisa said. "That absolute coward." "I can't marry him." "No, you can't. But can we wait until morning to cancel? You're in shock." "No. It has to be now. Before I lose my nerve. Before he convinces me I'm overreacting." We called vendors. Most were asleep. We left messages. "The wedding is canceled. Don't deliver. Don't set up. Cancel everything." The venue manager was furious. "The deposit is non-refundable." "Keep it. I don't care." The florist cried. "I've been working on this for weeks. Send the flowers to a nursing home. Charge it to the Whitmores." By 4 a.m., it was done. 300 people would show up tomorrow to a wedding that didn't exist. The Whitmores would be humiliated, and I didn't care. I should have felt guilty. I felt free. Lisa helped me pack. My dress stayed in the closet, my bags filled with jeans and sweaters and comfortable shoes. "Where will you go?" "Home. Seattle, away from Boston and the Whitmores and this whole disaster." "What about Marcus?" As if on cue, my phone rang. Marcus. I declined. He called again. Again. 15 times before I finally answered. "Sophie, please, we need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about. You can't cancel the wedding." "I already did. Everything's canceled. The flowers, the venue, the photographer. It's done." "You what?" He sounded genuinely shocked. "Sophie, you're being irrational." "I'm being clear. Your mother told me I'm beneath your family. You stood there and said nothing. That tells me everything I need to know about our marriage." She was upset. She didn't mean... She meant every word, and you know she did. The problem isn't that she said it. The problem is that you agreed with her. You just weren't brave enough to say it. Silence. Long and telling. "That's not true," he finally said. But his voice was weak, unconvincing. "It is true. You've spent 3 years letting your mother treat me like I'm not good enough. Every criticism, Every dismissal, every time she made it clear I didn't belong. You said nothing, did nothing, just asked me to understand, to be patient, to wait for her to warm up. She will warm up. Marcus, she was planning to destroy our marriage, on a phone call, the night before our wedding, and when I confronted her about it, you defended her, not me, her. You're twisting this. I'm seeing it clearly for the first time. You love your mother's approval more than you love me, and I deserve someone who doesn't make me a choice, who just chooses me, period. I hung up, blocked his number, blocked Patricia's, blocked every Whitmore contact in my phone. By sunrise, Lisa and I were on the road, Boston disappearing in the rearview mirror, my wedding day dawning without a wedding. My mother called at 8 a.m. "Sophie, why is the venue saying the wedding is canceled?" I told her everything. She cried. Not disappointed tears, relieved tears. "I didn't want to say anything," she admitted in Mandarin. "But that family, they looked down on us, on you. I could see it. Your father could see it. We thought you loved him enough that it was worth enduring. It wasn't. Good. You deserve better. Come home." So I did. Seattle welcomed me back like I'd never left. The rain, the coffee, the pace of life that didn't require constant performance. I moved back into my old apartment. The landlord had kept it available. "I had a feeling you'd come back," she said. "Boston's not for everyone." I returned to my old hospital. They rehired me immediately. "Best cardiac nurse we ever had," my supervisor said. "When can you start?" Within 2 weeks, I'd rebuilt a life that looked exactly like the one I'd left 3 years ago. Except I was different, harder, clearer, done pretending. Word spread about the canceled wedding. Seattle's medical community is small. Everyone knew I'd left a surgeon at the altar. Most people assumed I got cold feet. I didn't correct them. The real story was mine to keep. 3 months after returning, I was assigned to a new patient. Mr. James Foster, 72, heart failure, sweet man with a wicked sense of humor, and a grandson who visited daily. That grandson was Daniel Foster. 32, a high school teacher. He wore cheap shirts and had paint on his hands from art class. He brought his grandfather homemade cookies and read him books out loud. He was nothing like Marcus. "You're the nurse who saved my grandpa," he said after we stabilized Mr. Foster. "They said he almost died twice. You refused to give up." "I don't give up easily." "I can tell," he smiled. "Can I take you to coffee? To say thank you?" I almost said no. Wasn't ready, wasn't interested, wasn't anything but tired. But something about his easy smile, his paint-stained hands, his lack of pretense, made me say yes. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into walks. Walks turned into dating. Daniel was everything Marcus wasn't. He met my parents and asked my father about driving a taxi, genuinely interested in the stories. He complimented my mother's cooking and asked for recipes. He introduced me to his friends, other teachers, artists, musicians, and never once seemed embarrassed by my career or background. "You're a nurse," he said when I mentioned my job. "You save lives. That's incredible. Why would anyone diminish that?" Because they wanted to feel superior, because they measured worth in prestige instead of impact, because they were the Whitmores. But I didn't say that, just smiled and let myself fall for someone who saw me clearly. 6 months into dating Daniel, I got a call from an unknown Boston number. Let it go to voicemail. It was Marcus. "Sophie, I know you blocked me. I'm calling from a colleague's phone. I need you to know I made a mistake. Leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life. My mother was wrong. I was wrong. Please call me back. We can fix this." I deleted the voicemail. Didn't call back. There was nothing to fix. Nothing to return to. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived, handwritten, from Marcus. "Sophie, I don't know if you'll read this. I hope you do. I've spent the last 9 months realizing everything I lost. You were right that night. I chose my mother over you. I was a coward. I let her control my life, my decisions, my relationships, because it was easier than standing up to her. Since you left, I've been in therapy. trying to understand why I couldn't defend you, why I prioritized her comfort over your dignity. The answer is that I was raised to believe family hierarchy mattered more than partnership, that mothers knew best, that questioning them was disloyalty. I'm working on changing that. I've set boundaries with my mother, moved into my own place, made it clear that she doesn't get to dictate my relationships. But I know it's too late. You've moved on, you're in Seattle, living your life, and I have no right to disrupt that. I just wanted you to know you were always good enough, more than good enough. You were everything, and I was too blind and too cowardly to see it until you were gone. I hope you're happy. I hope you found someone who chooses you the way I should have. I'm sorry. Marcus. I read that letter 3 times, felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no residual love, just indifference. He'd learned too late. And honestly, I didn't care anymore. I showed Daniel the letter. Ex-fiancé, I explained, apologizing for not defending me to his mother. Daniel read it carefully, handed it back. What do you want to do with this? Nothing. He had his chance. He blew it. I'm done. You're sure? Because if you need to respond, process, anything, I'm sure. I don't need closure from him. I already closed that door. Daniel nodded, kissed my forehead. Good. Because you deserve someone who doesn't need 9 months and a therapist to figure out you're worth defending. That's when I knew. Daniel wasn't Marcus. He was better. He was mine. That was 18 months ago. Daniel and I got married 6 months ago. Small ceremony, City Hall, my parents, his grandfather, a handful of close friends. No production, no performance. Just 2 people choosing each other in front of people who actually loved us. My mother cried happy tears. My father shook Daniel's hand and said, "You're a good man. You see my daughter clearly." We honeymooned in a cabin in the San Juan Islands. No luxury resort, no Instagram photos, just us, hiking and cooking and being together without pretense. It was perfect. Last month I got another letter, this time from Patricia Whitmore. Sophie, I owe you an apology. I've been doing a lot of reflecting since you left, and I realize now that my treatment of you was unfair and cruel. I judged you based on superficial criteria that don't actually matter. Your background, your career, your family, none of those things determine your worth as a person or your value as a partner. Marcus has made it clear that my behavior cost him the love of his life. He's set boundaries with me that I'm still learning to respect, but I deserved them. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I was wrong. About everything. You were always good enough for Marcus. He wasn't good enough for you. I hope you found happiness. Patricia Whitmore. I showed Daniel. He raised his eyebrows. That's big. It's too late. I know, but it's still big. She actually admitted she was wrong. She spent 3 years making me feel inferior. 9 months after I left, she finally figured out she was wrong? I'm supposed to be impressed? Daniel laughed. No, you're supposed to be exactly as unimpressed as you are, which is why I love you. I threw the letter away. No response needed, no forgiveness required, just acknowledgement and moving on. My life now looks nothing like the life I almost had. No Beacon Hill mansion, no Whitmore last name, no Boston medical dynasty. Instead, I have a small house in Seattle's Greenwood neighborhood, a husband who teaches art to high schoolers, a job I love at a hospital where people respect what I do, parents who live 10 minutes away and come over every Sunday for dinner. It's modest by Whitmore standards. It's everything by mine. Last week, Lisa, my maid of honor who helped me cancel everything, visited from Boston. She filled me in on Whitmore family gossip. "Marcus is engaged again," she said casually. My heart didn't skip. Good for him. To a woman his mother approved of. Doctor, Beacon Hill family. Patricia's thrilled. I'm sure she is. You don't care? Not even a little bit. And I didn't. Marcus was a chapter I'd closed, a lesson I'd learned, a bullet I'd dodged. Lisa smiled. You know what the funny thing is? Everyone in Boston thinks you were lucky to almost marry him, that you threw away the chance of a lifetime. What do you think? I think he threw away the chance of a lifetime, and you found something real instead. She was right. The night before my wedding to Marcus, his mother told me I wasn't good enough for her son. He heard everything, and he chose her. It devastated me then. The rejection, the humiliation, the realization that 3 years of trying to be acceptable had been for nothing. But looking back now, Patricia did me a favor. She showed me who Marcus really was before I legally bound myself to him, before we had kids, before decades of being slowly diminished by a man too weak to stand up for me. She was right about one thing. I wasn't good enough for Marcus. I was too good for him. I deserved someone who didn't make loving me a complicated choice, who didn't weigh me against his mother's approval and find me wanting, who didn't need therapy and 9 months of reflection to realize I was worth defending. I deserved Daniel, who introduced me to his family with pride, who brags about my career, who calls me his hero because I save lives while he teaches art. I deserved a partner, not a project. Love that was simple instead of strategic. A relationship where I wasn't constantly proving I belonged. The Whitmores taught me what I didn't want, what I'd never accept again, what genuine unworthiness looked like, not in me, but in them. A family so concerned with image that they rejected substance. A man so committed to his mother's approval that he sacrificed his own happiness. A life so focused on status that love became transactional. I'm grateful I walked away. Grateful Patricia made that phone call. Grateful Marcus chose her. Because that choice freed me to find something better. Someone better. A life that fits instead of a life I have to shrink to inhabit. My MIL told me I wasn't good enough for her son the night before my wedding. My fiancé heard everything and chose her. And in choosing her, he lost me. Forever. Completely. With no regrets on my part. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing. Sometimes rejection is redirection. Sometimes the relationship that falls apart is the one that was always meant to end. I'm married now, happily, to someone who would never let his mother call me beneath him, who would defend me before I even had to ask, who chose me completely the first time and every time after. Patricia thought she was protecting her son. She was actually setting me free, and I've never been more grateful for anything in my life. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support truly means the world to me. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. I love reading every single one of them. Each comment inspires me to keep creating stories for you. See you next time.